This is like filling in a lot of gaps about the way I've worshipped my siblings growing up. This is like pretty funny. If you're out there, you are Jesus.
Oh my god.
Okay, carry on.
Open up, you open up.
Season 2, episode 1, take 2.
You ready?
And scene. Wait.
God,
That's the end.
don't say that. You're cheesy. I can't handle your dad jokes.
That wasn't even like a dad joke. That wasn't even like a...
Hi guys, I'm Hannah.
I'm Sadie.
And we're not straight.
Here we are in 2021.
Happy 2021.
We made it.
We made it. We've made it to the second already.
Yeah.
We're cruising.
Yep. It's been a long year. I couldn't help it. I had to say a cheesy joke. So our dog just had eye surgery, and she's recovering well, and she's actually not super hindered by the cone anymore. She was pretty upset about it the first couple days, but she's gotten used to it, and while she's doing well, she will likely make a few appearances.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. She still has a lot of energy. Yep. So anyway.
So this video is gonna be
Brought to you by...
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. This video is fucking... I can't say anything.
You want me to...
Nope, I'm gonna say it.
Okay, she's gonna say it, folks.
So this video is brought to you by one of our patrons on Patreon, with a video suggestion that we talk about a lot personally in our own lives and wanted to share the conversation with you, which is just the small niche of religion.
Small niche.
We talked about religion and sex,
Mm-hmm.
and how religion has impacted our understandings of and cultural experience of sex in the past and continues to. But we wanted to expand that and talk more generally about queer people and religion as it relates to us, and hopefully as it relates to you guys as well. So
Yeah, I feel like, well, first of all, this is just going to be a conversation. So if it's all over the place, bear with us. But I feel like we bump into this a lot. Like we stumble upon this all the time. And I think that's partially because a lot of the way you were raised was like built by religion. Like the scaffolding was set up by religion. And so we like bump into things sometimes that like I had no concept of. Like I would have no idea.
Yeah,
no
for
understanding.
context, if you haven't seen our past videos, I was raised in a very religious community and family, and I personally was very attached to a lifestyle guided by and informed by the Catholic faith. And
I was not.
you were not.
I was not. Period.
You weren't raised with a ton of... I mean, your family was like historically Catholic.
My extended family is still Catholic. Yeah.
But your family wasn't really raised with much religion,
Right.
or religious influence at all.
Right. My parents said that my parents were each raised Catholic and decided when they had kids that if we wanted to be religious when we grew up, that was a decision we could make for ourselves. And none of us have really made that choice to become particularly religious. I thought that I might for a time in high school.
I think that's so fascinating. That seems like something you can really gloss over, but I feel like that's actually really important. The fact that that you weren't raised with it, and you don't feel some sort of like absence that has like drawn you to a religion. You know, like there isn't some gaping. It's not like you were raised without like an understanding of what, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not like you were raised without music or something, and then like all of a sudden you were hearing all this
discovered
music and
it.
you're like, whoa, this is crazy. Like,
but I was like surrounded by it. Like it wasn't like I wasn't confronted with that choice, or I don't know.
But I think it's really important. I think it's really curious that you didn't end up choosing that.
Right. Yeah, actually, can I talk about that for a little bit? So I had a couple experiences that, I don't know, were coincidental, but I maybe thought could be some sort of like religious experience. Mostly they were just moments, and ended up going to this church a few times, maybe 3 total. And it was this New Life church, and it was huge and brand new construction and seemed fairly like snobby is the only word I can
Interesting.
come up with. And I remember there was this like rock band that played every time, and it felt like they were very much trying to get you to, I don't know, they were trying to draw you in. And I have always been a very musically inclined person, and I love music. And so that was kind of why I liked it, was because I liked the music and I liked singing along. But it felt a little culty to me too. And I was like 16 by the time I was doing this, so I had kind of, I don't know, when you're like 6 or 7, you don't really have a sense for those things.
I was going to say, when it's not normalized for you at a really young age, you notice a lot more the things that other people might take for granted.
Right. So I was there one Sunday when they were doing a bunch of baptisms of adults in this like upper, I remember it was like a big screen zoomed in on this like bathtub that was upstairs, and there were like hundreds of people downstairs watching and cheering, and there was music, and it was kind of strange. It felt like something that I thought would be like an intimate thing for a person, but that was like broadcasted to be this big event to try to get everyone else in on the emotion. And I never went back after that day. It just kind of creeped me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really, I don't know. I just couldn't really get into it.
That's so interesting. I think just as like a small aside on baptisms, I think that a lot of churches do public baptisms because when they were doing those, they were, obviously public. They were out in front of whoever was around. But they were like the outcasts, the losers, the sinners, the people no one wanted to associate with. They weren't in front of 200 people. They weren't in front of thousands of people getting baptized and like being watched.
Yeah. Are people just like all about God these days and forget about the Jesus part? We've talked a lot about this, and I think I've come to understand that Jesus was like a cool dude.
Jesus was like a socialist. Like, yeah. Jesus was like
everyone.
He was like a love everyone, but he was like love the poor and the like outcast first.
Specifically. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why there's, I mean, in most like religious sects that follow Jesus and the New Testament and the Bible have some sort of like radical liberal faction. I mean, the Catholics have the liberation theology, which is we aren't liberated until the people who have been the most outcast and the most othered are the first to be free.
Like, that's something I could get behind.
Right. And a lot of those priests who do that were murdered by the state. Or, I mean, because they were like like martial law and like all, dictatorships. Or have been like outcast from like the church, and like people don't follow them really because it's seen as this kind of extremism. I don't really know enough about it anymore to really speak to it and how like the culture of the church feels about it, but that was kind of the general trend.
Okay, so then what did you like about religion? What did/do you, or how do you feel about it now?
I think like when I was growing up, I liked that there were specific guidelines that I could follow because there was so much that I felt like I didn't know. And not to come back to this for like the 8 billionth time, but growing up without any like older siblings in the house with me, I felt like I didn't have someone being like, don't do that, that's dumb. Or like, that's mean, you can't be like that. Or just like a quick like correction that I feel like I see in a lot of my friends, like the conversations that they have with their siblings. And even you with your siblings, like I feel like you have all of these conversations and like you learn from people who go before you.
This is like filling in a lot of gaps about the way I've worshipped my siblings growing up. This is like pretty funny. If you're out there, you are Jesus.
Oh my God.
Okay, carry on.
I did feel like I wanted something. Like I wanted something to tell me like this is how to be and don't be like this. But I also really liked the community. I liked that I felt like I belonged. I think I had a hard time kind of fitting in, and I think there were a lot of reasons for that, not the least of which was that I was very closeted. And I think the community aspect of it was really attractive to me. And that meant a lot to me. And I think that there are a lot of churches that do well by the idea that you take people as they are, which it was a very Jesus-esque philosophy, and not trying to change people from what they are, and kind of accepting you with your flaws. And I felt that from a lot of the individuals that I was around. And so I think the community and then the philosophy within the community itself, that not everybody, but some people really communicated well to me. That was, I think, what drew me in.
I think it makes sense to seek some sort of guidance for your own behavior. And it seems like one of the major failings is when that is projected on other people and used as a way to judge other people.
Yes. I mean, back to what you just said about kind of like loving the religion, but forgetting all of the teachings of Jesus. We see these people. I mean, I remember reading a book in high school talking about people smoking, just cigarettes of tobacco, and Christians saying that smoking is not a Christian thing to do. And I was like, why would that not be a Christian thing to do? Like, what about smoking is a sin? Like, I get that it's not healthy for you.
Right.
Why is Christianity
involved?
Why does that have, what does that have anything to do with this?
Yeah.
And I think that there is this general tendency to apply your belief system to anything that you believe.
It's like a weaponizing of the belief system.
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of critiques. There are a lot of Christians who are very offended by and affected by the use of Christianity and like wielding that over people and policies and behaviors and circumstances. There are a lot of Christians that are like, what are we doing, making a judgment and then calling it Christianity or calling it a moral failing or something without any context or anything.
It's like a playing God. Like I've heard, like,
oh my
you
gosh,
can't play God. Like you don't get to decide. You don't get to judge me. Okay, so maybe follow-up question that's seemingly related, but maybe not. How is organized religion different from a cult? It feels like it's a way to try to get people to behave in a way that you want them to. And
I think at its best, and the philosophy of any religion that evangelizes is that humans are unaware of what post-death experience will be. A higher power that they believe in is in control of that. And in order to have a fulfilling post-death experience, there is a way that you can live your pre-death experience such that you will be able to enjoy your afterlife in the presence of this higher being that grants you like that space. And so religion ideally is an understanding of what do we do so that we can be good people, so that we can get this eternal salvation. I was really trying not to say that. So we can get this post-death experience. No, so that we can have a relationship, I mean, in the Christian sense, have a relationship with God so that you can go to heaven and enjoy that relationship for the rest of eternity. So all that to say, the point of the Christian religion at its best is to save people.
So your own relationship with God is like a selfish piece in your own actions. Like you want to get to heaven. So you're trying to be a good person. And the only way for you to be like unselfish about that is to try to bring other people in and try to get other people to heaven too by convincing them that there is a Jesus and a God and a way to live so that they can get to heaven.
Yeah, and I think that I think that the selfish, unselfish is a little bit of a misdirection, because I think that the ideal Christian life would be one where you lead people by example and they choose to be like you because they see that you're living a life of virtue and honesty and integrity.
But you said before, like, you're doing that so that you can enjoy your afterlife.
Yeah,
like,
and the belief
kind
is
of
that,
by definition.
and the belief is that God wants you to enjoy your afterlife, but God has given you free will, so you can choose that or not. So it's like a mutually beneficial thing.
Very interesting. Is it? I don't know. I think so.
Can I bring up one thing?
Please.
So we recently watched this movie on Netflix, and it's called Yes, God, Yes. And if you want to watch a young Catholic school-aged girl in the early 2000s experience her sexual awakening,
Oh my God.
go for it. Watch it.
So funny.
I
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, so it was suggested to me by some other folks that I know who are also Catholic. I went to a Catholic university. I went to public schools up until college.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have the Catholic high school experience, but I know a lot of people who did.
Mm-hmm.
And the Catholic university experience for me, there were a lot of aspects of this movie that felt very familiar. One of the things that happens in the movie is that some of the kids go on a retreat, and on this retreat, so what happens on this retreat is, first of all, everything is a secret.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have watches or phones or anything. And they don't know anything that's going to happen on the retreat. And
Right.
as is custom with a lot of Christian retreats, what happens is this extremely emotional, very vulnerable experience. And then there's this sort of kind of like all call or altar call if you're not a Catholic Christian, at the end of the retreat, where the kids are asked to reflect on their experience and asked to like deepen their relationship with God as a result of their extreme vulnerability.
In front of everyone.
In front of everyone, yeah. So we were watching this, and
Mm-hmm.
sexual awakening part aside, that was cringy enough, but watching the retreat and feeling all of those feelings of like extreme vulnerability. Okay, the patient is going to have to chew on her toy while we do this. There's this idea that if you are, kind of laid bare, you're totally ripped to shreds, that you are better able to build this relationship with God or kind of like examine yourself. But when that happens publicly, it feels suddenly very competitive and very worrisome.
Yeah. Concerning.
Yeah. And certainly parts of the movie were very exaggerated. There were some aspects of it that, from my experience, simply aren't true. But it was just kind of like oh geez, like watching it just felt really nerve-wracking. And I was talking to some other friends who had also seen this movie afterward, and talking about the fact that even in spite of having all of those experiences, those of us who have been raised with religion and had any sort of positive impact from that religion, coupled with negativity or any sort of like falling out or feeling of not wanting to be a part of that religion anymore, there is still this kind of nostalgia and this kind of like reluctance to totally give it all up and scrap it. And I think that that's what makes religion such a profound and such a triggering topic to discuss, because we do have these really like positive, impactful, like I talked about community and the people that I knew that I really like valued and appreciated their guidance and welcoming, and feeling like I didn't have to be any different than I was.
And I would argue that kind of nostalgia happens for any like experience that has had a great impact on your life. Like, I think that's true of a lot of aspects of people's childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's true for a lot of people's relationships with their parents, and like, I don't know, people who want to maintain a relationship with their father or mother or sister or brother who was like horrible to them, and for what? For that like sense of familiarity and all of those memories and nostalgia and the vulnerability and like being together in formative parts of your life. I think that that's true. I think that that's true for anything.
I think I would say something different. I think that it's, in my opinion, it's more than just the memories. Like the memories are really important and they're really impactful. But like I said at the beginning, I felt like religion was my moral compass for so long. And while I understand that that isn't true, I mean, you're a perfect example. I mean, I think you have like incredible integrity and I wouldn't question your judgment on anything. But for me, that wasn't my experience. And so I can't like easily unravel all of the experiences that I had and what they taught me. And I do value that. But it doesn't make me question it less. It just makes me say like, okay, those were valuable experiences and those are important. And I may need to revisit it. You know, if I'm like, oh, you can't do that, that's wrong. And you're questioning me and you're like, why can't we do that?
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer. Oftentimes that comes from my religious upbringing where I haven't really examined it because it was just something that was given to me. And I took it at face value, or I took it, took people at their word and was like, okay, that is what it is. Now I feel like I can do a better job of thinking critically about those things.
Like examining the source and then deciding to like take it or leave it kind of.
Yeah.
I think that you do that with me all the time. Or that is a conversation that I witness, or that's like a thought process that I witness all the time. It's fascinating to me.
I mean, I guess I am grateful for my experiences with religion for that reason,
What do you mean?
In addition, like giving me the chance to understand what a large portion, I mean, I'm Catholic, so like a lot of the world is Catholic, giving me a chance to understand what a large portion of the world may understand to be true, but then have the ability, like have a partner and have the ability to like think critically and someone who will have those discussions with me openly.
Yeah, I think it's a benefit to have the perspective, like to understand all the references, to know the history. Like half the time I miss, not half the time, 80% of the time I miss religious references because I don't understand any of it.
I think we gotta put a pause on this.
Yeah, I think we should come back to it.
I do too. I think this was like a really interesting conversation for me, and hearing your questions I think were really cool. And if you guys want us to do another, like a part 2 of this, and if you have questions or thoughts that you would like us to consider,
hit us with them. We
would love to hear them, because I know that everybody has an experience with religion, whether you're a part of one or not. And we would love to hear your thoughts, if you're willing to share.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get to the like being gay and religious part later.
Next time,
we didn't even get there.
All right.
Bye.
Nothing is a secret. Like nothing